If our new Minister of Home Affairs, Leon Schreiber, has his way, then undocumented migrants into South Africa, whether they work in restaurants or in domestic environment or in civil society or roaming, will in fact be chucked out of the country. Now that's nationalism. That's not xenophobia. That is the minister saying, let us ensure that jobs are going to South Africans and to legal migrants who are applying for asylum in South Africa. Absolutely. Let us ensure that undocumented migrants coming into South Africa, for whatever reason, and we understand how pathetic their situation in their own country actually is, but we've got our own problems. Let us understand that those undocumented migrants coming into South Africa are taking South African jobs. The argument has always been that South Africans don't want to work at those jobs. They're not happy to be laborers any longer. They're not happy to work on gardens or be domestics or work in waiting positions in restaurants. But that's nonsense. The average South African who is under the age of 20 or 25 are looking for work, are hungry for work, are prepared to work, are productive, are educated, but remain unemployed, and principally because of those migrants coming into the country. Statistics South Africa would tell you a different story. They're telling you that, in fact, we don't have a problem with undocumented migrants in this country. They are a minority compared to the rest of the population. The real question is, who are they gathering their statistics from? Undocumented migrants are not going to answer surveys. They're not going to say, we're here illegally, and we're working, and we're making money, and we're sending that money back to Zimbabwe or Kenya or Ghana or wherever in Africa we've come from. They're not going to own up to that. They're not going to say it. When Statistics South Africa come knocking, those people are going to fast disappear. So the bottom line is Stats South Africa do not know their you-know-what from their you-know-what. The bottom line is we have a migrant crisis. Ask our hospitals whether we have a migrant crisis. Ask our hospitals whether the medicine and the medical treatment are not going to people who in fact are not South Africans. Now, as Minister Schreiber issues this warning to undocumented migrants, irrespective of where they're coming from, there are a number of political parties who obviously are going to have to start shaking in their boots. Because the reality is they've depended on these undocumented migrants for votes, for support politically, sometimes even financially. Now, they're going to have to depend on South Africans voting for them. So watch this space. Either Leon Schreiber will be successful, or he will horribly fail because the rest of the GNU will completely handicap him. Only time will tell. And the real other question is this: will law enforcement play the game? Given that there are particular segments of migrants who are responsible for major crime in this country, and we hear day after day, week after week, media reports. The last, by the way, being a whole group of Portuguese butchers who were in the country who had been kidnapped. Bottom line is, law and order in this country doesn't exist to the extent it should. It is not a center of excellence. And the question is whether the Minister of Police, who used to be our Minister of Water, will now in fact step up or not.